Let's get into BKFC.
Next up on the list, man. Bare Knuckle fighting 16 Garcia versus Elmore. Hey, look, Bare Knuckle has got me intrigued to the point where I am looking forward to this card just to see what happens. And I don't know anybody on this card. Now I know you did a little research on this main event right here, man. Just let us know what we getting ourselves into with this bare
Well,
knuckle
here's the
fight
thing.
right
I
here.
didn't have to do research. You know, I didn't
You
have.
did you did a little bit.
I didn't necessarily have to do research as much as like I knew who's fighting. So Joe Elmore, he's right down the road. But when you look at this fight in particular, it becomes the idea of like, yo, these guys can fight. These are two fighters that will fight, And then you got Joe Elmore. He, I believe he knocked out old buddy the last time. And you've got these guys. They've got like extensive MMA records. So that's going to be your main event. Now, in looking at it, when I pulled up the card, there's no other fights on the card. So hopefully, something gets pulled out. But here's the thing: there's so much that they could put together, with people that maybe either made it out that didn't really have a scratch or something. Mm-hmm. But I've got names from the BKFC in my head, which is crazy, because I'm like, maybe they'll get Lorenzo Hunt, on the card, right? Maybe they'll get what's his name on the card, the one that won the co-main event, and then he was like, "Yo, I'll fight you in 4 weeks." When old buddy came into, look, I don't know, I don't know their names, but if I see them on the card, I'm there. They got me. I'm watching it, and I'm pretty sure this isn't a tentpole one either. So I don't know if this is a pay-per-view.
And then I want you to elaborate on something too that you went into when we had this little discussion about bare knuckle. Bare Knuckle is an organization that usually gets individuals that are like on their way out from another organization itself, or they not had a good record or something like that. Elaborate on that information that we talked about earlier before the show.
So with the BKFC, when you get there, you're 0-0. You get a fresh start,
Yeah.
But we also look at, different records and, where you come from. And it's almost like a melting pot of everybody getting put together. You've got, your MMA guys with extensive MMA backgrounds. You've got boxing guys that are going to come into bare knuckle. What's his name? Paulie Malignaggi was talking about coming back for a second one. Remember, he was the one that Mayweather gave him the business. He was a champ. Boxing, Mayweather gave him the business and practice, released the video, and then they had this whole thing. And then he fought bare knuckle and ended up losing. And then he was like, man, I don't know. But he talking about coming back and doing it again. There's so much that you can put together. And the early years of BKFC right now are like the early years of the UFC, where when they make a card, they got to stack it. They gotta stack it with people They gotta stack it with, man, Lorenzo Hunt, man, he did good. They call him Lorenzo right now, like, hey, you trying to get on the next card? And then you start looking at cards, you start looking at people that you know. You got Paige Van Zandt, she lost to Britton Hart. But then you've got Taylor Starling, she 125. You got Jenny Savage, she 125. Yeah. They talk shit in the cage. So I'm invested. They got me. They taught me more names in one pay-per-view.
Yes.
Of people that are fighting on the card from the prelims to the main card than I have watching the UFC in a long time. Maybe when we watched what was it? Dana White's Contender Series, where Sugar Shane O'Malley came out there and did that little spinny stuff. Yeah, and we was like, yo, who's this kid?
Yeah.
Yo, I'm going to keep an eye on him. It's like that with the BKFC. It's like, I don't know his name. You know the dude, the one that knocked out the dude, and then he got in the cage, and then they was in each other's face, and then as soon as it come up, and I'm like, nope, that's the dude. I'm going to be there. And I'm slowly but surely starting to learn names. Man. And then you got Beck Rollins that might, I believe she signed with BKFC. Beck Rollins is in the mix too.
when BKFC puts on a promotion like they did the last one, which was a pay per view, and they sell it for $40, it draws interest when people eyes or attention gets on it. So
Yeah.
when people start covering individuals such as the person you just said, is like, well, I can go to BKFC and I can do what they're doing. All I gotta do is stand and bang and knock this dude out or knock this woman out. That's all I gotta do.
Yeah.
And when you get intrigued like that, not only are we intrigued, but some of those bigger names are intrigued too. So that makes for bigger fights, especially for BKFC, and that makes for more money. That makes for more coverage. And if you get more money and more coverage, that means you're getting better fights or better fighters. So this is an interesting time for BKFC because it could be an opportunity for BKFC to not only improve on the fights that they're already putting on, because I'm already invested in some of the individuals that are already fighting right now. They have an opportunity to get some of those individuals that are in the middle tier of the MMAs or the boxing realms that maybe or may not have the skill to be champions in those leagues or those areas to come to BKFC
I
and
disagree.
actually slug in it.
I
Why you say
disagree.
that?
Listen,
Why you say
I
that?
think Paige Van Zant losing this fight was actually more beneficial to the long term health of the BKFC than it
Was it
was
legitimacy?
the other way around. Because you got it like this. Paige Van Zant, I'm not saying no, she was doing well in the UFC. You know, I'm not gonna say she
Yeah.
couldn't cut it. She was 8-4, and that was
She was
all
in the
her
middle of
fight.
the pack.
All her fights were in the UFC. A winning record with that many fights. I'm pretty sure all her fights in the UFC. I don't think she fought anywhere else. Or maybe she fought in. No, she didn't fight in Invicta. I don't know. But the majority of her fights in the UFC, and she's winning. That's tough to do. So I'm not saying like she couldn't cut it in the UFC. Now, when you say couldn't be UFC champion, okay, I get that part. But
Yeah.
when she decides to like come over to same thing if Yo Romero goes out, well, he's fighting Anthony Johnson, so it doesn't count.
No.
Same thing as when Benson Henderson went over to Bellator. You know, Benson Henderson coming over to Bellator and not having immediate success really legitimized Bellator. Same thing at BKFC. Her coming over and actually losing, now it goes, no. There's levels to BKFC too. You're not just going to go, well, I couldn't make it in my sport, so I'm going to come over here and be a champion. You see what I mean?
I see what you mean, but
And
I was basically saying the same thing you're saying.
no,
And
you
I
were
was just
saying
trying to
if you're middle of the
draw
pack.
attention. Well, I was trying to draw attention to those individuals that are middle of the pack. They don't think or they know they don't have the skills to be a champion. They can come to an organization such as BKFC and maybe turn it around to the point where they could be a champion because it's a one-dimensional kind of fighting style. You
It
don't have
is,
to
but it's a
worry
complete
about
different
you
story.
don't. I know it is, but you don't have to worry about that ground attack, jujitsu, takedowns, and this, that, and the other.
Right.
It's standing and banging. So
But
if you're good at standing and banging, and you working the MMA and UFC realm, and you're good at knocking people out, come to the BKFC. You may have success there. I'm
not
not saying they're going
necessarily.
to have success. I'm just saying they may have better success because it's a one-dimensional kind of thing.
Not
That's all
necessarily.
I'm saying.
So, but you got to look at it like this too. So when you go to the BKFC, so it's like I can stand and bang in boxing. I can stand and bang in MMA, but you may not be able to take standing and banging bare knuckle. So I think it take a different kind of person to even get that done. So a lot of the people that are going to come over like, yo, I'm going to come over, I'm going to get famous in the BKFC, they going to come and catch those mollywops from the people with 3, 4, 5 BKFC fights going. Because what, Bret Hart had 3? And then all of a sudden she was like, okay, so all of what Paige Van Zandt was like, I'm just going to go in here and do this and it'll be fine. Turns out she was wrong. So I feel like BKFC is like, nah, homie, this different. And they're going to start building people.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm trying to get to is the point that these individuals that are in BKFC now will build a better name if some of the mid-tier individuals from the UFC boxing realm coming down, because the only reason why we were intrigued about the last pay-per-view was like, I wonder what Paige Van Zandt going to do. And we tuned into the pay-per-view just see what she was going to do. And then we were dazzled with Taylor, and we were dazzled with what Hart did, and then some of the backstories with the main event and some of the things that went about through the main event and this, that, and the other, especially the co-main event. Those things intrigued us even more to get to the point now where we're talking about what we're talking about now.
So like a
Because
Bellator, but they're doing a better job than
exactly
what Bellator has been doing lately. Like in the past, they're like, we'll go top heavy, we'll get that guy, and we hope that all of our rising stars is what make you stay. Because back in the day, when they had the beginnings, like AJ McKee and all those, I'm like, man, Georgie Karakanyan and all those guys. So I got it. I get it.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
I'm not saying those individuals going to come into the BKFC and have success. I'm saying that they can have that Paige Vincent kind of
spotlight put on them.
Spotlight to the point where it spotlights the BKFC for that night. And then all of a sudden they have 4 to 5 pay-per-views they put together because of a name, mid-tier individual from the MMA or the boxing realm. And then they can put them on the main card. They don't have to necessarily be in the main event. And then we'll tune in to see that individual. And then in the process of tuning in to see that individual, maybe they have a Taylor on that same card. And maybe they have a Hart on that same card. And then all of a sudden we know those two names.
I know them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it goes from there, and then they can build upon their success from event to event. And then all of a sudden we're talking about them on the same realms of the UFC. But that's further along down the line because UFC has a platform that is it is what it is. Yeah. But I feel like BKFC, if they keep the track they're going right now, they can take over what UFC left at Fox, and they can go to Fox and be some kind of a big name or bigger name with Fox as what UFC did at Fox, and then they'll never get to an ESPN realm kind of deal because their style of fighting is a little bit different than UFC. UFC is more of a, the person got knocked out, and then all of a sudden it's over.
Yeah,
the ref jumps in.
I don't feel like Fox, like free TV. I don't know if Fox would do anything, but I feel like if they were on, I know Bellator's doing some stuff with Showtime, I believe. Oh. But if like they were like a BKFC on HBO, I believe that would be the way to go.
I think that the better eyes they would see if they go to a Fox.
It's too brutal. You thought the UFC stuff was brutal. It's brutal. Look,
the UFC is on TV for a reason. I think they can put BKFC on TV as well.